We're here with Congressman Hakeem Jeffries. He's a Democrat serving New York. You are also, Congressman, a member of the subcommittee on the Judiciary Committee on Antitrust. A lot of talk about an investigation into big tech companies. What do you hope to accomplish with this investigation?
Well, we want to make sure that the current practices of big technology companies like Facebook are respecting the privacy of the American people, because these are entities that are holding the most intimate details of the lives and personal details of everyday Americans in the most intimate way possible. And we've got to make sure that that's being respected and that the privacy rights of those Americans aren't being undermined. So from my standpoint, that's an important objective to try to pursue.
You know, yesterday I interviewed the chairman of that subcommittee, Chairman Cirilli, and he said it's this balancing act of respecting the contributions that these big tech companies have provided to the American people, both economically and from a service perspective. Shareholders are a bit uneasy about this investigation. What's your message to shareholders?
Well, at the House Democratic Caucus is not going to sort of predetermine the outcome of the investigation. We're going to follow the facts, be guided by the law, and proceed in the best interest of the American people. At the end of the day, my view has always been that subpoenas should be a mechanism of last resort, not a mechanism of first resort. But we do hope to secure the cooperation of the big tech companies at the highest level possible.
Mark Zuckerberg. Should people trust Mark Zuckerberg?
The American people need to hear from Mark Zuckerberg. It seems to me that one could reasonably conclude that there is absolutely no reason to trust Mark Zuckerberg at this particular point in time, given the repeated instances where something inappropriate that Facebook has done has been exposed to the American people. He's then forced to apologize, which he does in a public fashion. And then there's another instance of Facebook abusing the trust of the American people. Can anyone trust Mark Zuckerberg at this particular point in time? That's ultimately going to be a question that the American people will answer.
And I find this so interesting because another big question is whether or not the Congress or regulators should break up big tech to better protect consumers' privacy. Where do you stand on that?
Well, it seems to me that all options should be on the table, but that we should proceed with caution so as to not disrupt the social media market, which has contributed in many profound ways to the ability of Americans to communicate with each other. And so I think Chairman Cirilli and Chairman Nadler are going to proceed with caution and be guided by what's in the best interest of the American consumer.
Switching gears now on another area that Democrats, you being a member of leadership in the House Democratic Party and the House Democratic Congress, impeachment, the issue of impeachment. Where do things stand on that front?
Well, in my view, we should continue to proceed with our investigation. And the House Judiciary Committee has indicated that they will conduct hearings on obstruction of justice, abuse of power, and the culture of corruption that appears to exist at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. That is the correct approach at this time. We should be guided by the Constitution at the end of the day, and we are in fact-gathering mode. Once we gather all of the facts, which will include the unredacted Mueller report, the underlying documentation, and securing the public testimony of Bob Mueller, then we'll be in a better situation to decide how to proceed.
You still think you can get Mueller to testify publicly?
In my view, Bob Mueller should testify publicly. This is an incredibly significant investigation that he presided over. It lasted for 22 months. He produced a comprehensive report, over 400 pages, and millions of taxpayer dollars were spent to do it. We now need to hear from Bob Mueller.
On USMCA or NAFTA 2.0, it sounds like you want to get to a yes, but this tariff talk is making it more difficult for Democrats to get on board, as are environmental protections and worker protections.
Well, Trump's erratic behavior as it relates to tariffs have made things more difficult for the American consumer. These tariffs are a tax on everyday Americans, working families, middle-class folks, senior citizens, and could cost upward of $800 per American family should he go through with these reckless threats. That's a problem in and of itself for the entire economy. with respect to the USMCA, House Democrats, led by Speaker Pelosi, have consistently said, we want to get to yes, but we need to see greater labor and environmental standards, as well as an enforceability mechanism, particularly as it relates to Mexico, to ensure that those standards can be brought to life.
Do you want to be Speaker of the House, Governor of New York, Senator of New York, or Mayor of New York City?
I have the greatest job in the world right now, which is
Come
chair
on, you got to give me something.
of the House Democratic Caucus, and I'm committed to the institution of the House. And what I've learned is that you've got to focus on the job that you have, do that job to the best of your ability, and the rest will take care of itself.